All right. It is 6 p.m., so I will call this December 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Wenatchee School District School Board to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor, indique su necesidad. We will now work through the agenda. Are there any proposed changes or modifications to the agenda? Hearing none. We will start with the consent agenda. I'm out. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had an opportunity to review the material and individually ask the superintendent any questions on any item on the agenda. The consent agenda for this week includes the minutes from the November 26th, 2024 regular board meeting, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, contracts, field trips, September financial report, November enrollment report, and the secondary school improvement plans. There a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second? I'll second. Okay. So moved by Martin, second by Maria. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Great, it's unanimous. Next up is going a little out of our usual order. We have an action item, the reorganization of the board. So according to board policy 1210, at the first regular meeting in December in non-election years, the board shall elect from among its members a chair and president, or chair, president, and vice chair president to serve one-year terms. A newly appointed board member will not be eligible to serve as an officer unless a majority of the board has been appointed. First on the agenda is the election of a new board president. Do I hear nominations for president of the Wenatchee School District School Board to serve for the ensuing year, extending from the remainder of December 2024 through December 2025?
I would like to nominate Tucker Jackson to serve as the chair.
Do you accept a nomination?
I do.
All right. Is there any other nomination? All right. So Tucker Jackson has been nominated for president. Hearing no other nominations, we will now do a roll call vote. Starting with Martin.
Aye.
Tucker.
Yes. Aye.
Maria.
Aye.
I think Miranda.
Aye.
Julie. Aye. Congratulations. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, everyone. First of all, so now we have a call for nominations for vice chair to serve during the ensuing year. Do I hear nominations for vice president of the Wenatchee School District Board to serve in the ensuing year, December 2024 through December 2025?
I nominate Miranda Skaliski.
All right. Miranda Skaliski has been nominated. Are there any further nominations? All right. If not, no additional nominations. We'll now have a roll call vote for Miranda Skaliski to serve as vice president of the Wenatchee School District Board for the ensuing year. Martin.
Aye.
I'm next. Tucker. Aye. That's me again. Maria.
Aye.
Miranda.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
All right. Great. Miranda Skaliski has received unanimous votes and therefore will assume the office of Vice President of the Board. Okay, we're moving on to citizen comments. Did you read the comment already for? I would, thank you so much. My Spanish is rusty. Okay, where are we? If any other member of the public would like to make a citizen comment, please sign up online or in person. Paper forms are available at the entrance to the meeting room and can be completed and given to the board secretary, Kim White. Unless translation is required, each comment is limited to 3 minutes, and Mrs. White will keep a timer that will notify you when your time expires. Do we have anyone? No. Okay. Then we are moving on to special presentations. First one is student athletes.
Perfect. As part of our levy preparation, we have been inviting students that are participating in levy-funded activities to share their story and how those levy-funded activities have impacted their lives. And so I believe that we have 3 athletes here tonight. Do we have Martin Diaz, James Butler, and Ariana Alvarez? All right, if you guys wouldn't mind coming up to the microphone at the podium and share your stories with us. We appreciate you being here amongst your peers and all of our building leaders. So we have a fun evening for everyone. All right. Thanks so much.
So hi everyone, my name is Martin Diaz. I'm a senior at Wenatchee High School, and I'm here mainly because last week Mr. Anderson and Ms. Giacomazzi asked me to come speak, and they pulled me out of class, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And so I have a couple bullet points, but first things first, just a little bit about me. Both my parents are from Chile, and when I was 3 years old, we moved there because their whole family is there. And I lived there for about 10 years. And all my cousins, my aunts and uncles live there, and Chile is just a very big part of me. And when I was down there, I always used to play soccer like every day after school and on the weekends. I was on a club team, and soccer was held a really special like place in my heart. So then when my parents told me that we were going to move to the US, at first I was really excited because down in Chile, the US is kind of the place where you want to go, like the American dream and all of that. And I was really excited. And then my cousin introduced me to the sport called football. And I was like, we already have football. Like, what are you talking about? He was like, no, this is American football. So then I went on YouTube and just saw like a bunch of videos, and it really got me excited about the sport. So then when we got here in 2019, and I went to the first practice in 7th grade, I just instantly fell in love with the sport, and just all my teammates and my coaches made that 7th grade year very special for me. Even though it was cut short due to COVID, it was still like super fun. Um, so after that, I just like football was my main focus. Like in the summers, in the winters, like just being in the weight room and then going out doing scrimmages with my team was like the only I just loved that about high school, that I got to do sports. Um, so I think my best memory of football was freshman year, like getting to meet freshmen from other schools and really connect, and just um really what I didn't know at the time was building brotherhoods with those guys was really something that impacted me a lot. And this year being a senior and feeling like that freshman year was not that long ago is really special. And um so then once football was over, I really like got down and sat down with my mom and reflected on what football was for me, because I was really sad at the time, but I really should have been happy because football taught me a lot of things like leadership, hard work, sacrifice, perseverance, and I think most important, gave me brotherhood and a family for life. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Martine.
Hi there. My name is James Butler, and I'm also here to talk to you about high school sports. Funny story, Mr. Anderson. I was in the front office when Martine was coming out of Mr. Anderson's office, asking him to come do this. And he looks over at me and he goes, "Well, I need a third person, and you're just sitting here, so how about I ask you?" And I was like, "Of course, Mr. Anderson, I'd love to help you out, and I'd love to come talk at a school board meeting." So here we are. And sports for me have always been about me. And I grew up playing baseball, and that was always my number one sport. And I was never really introduced to a different sport until high school. And I'd like to say that sports have not only given me the opportunity to make lifelong friends and brothers that I'll never forget, but also teach me how to work towards a community and learn that community is a really big deal. And that if you can work towards a community and be a part of a community, that you'll be able to have that forever. And yeah, that's what I got out of sports in high school.
Thanks, James.
Hi, my name is Ariana Carrion, and I'm here to talk about athletics too. Actually, Mr. Anderson, when I was leaving the high school, he was like, Ariana, and I was like, because I was caught by surprise, and then he's like, and then he told me to come here, whatever. Um, okay, so here's what I have to say about athletics. Being a part of the athletic program has truly made an impact in my day-to-day. Being a Running Start student, I have noticed that it has become very easy for me to feel disconnected within my school community. But by being part of track and soccer, that's where I mainly connect through my school. I feel like it helps me stay connected to my school and my school spirit with all my fellow classmates. And it has also helped me enhance a better environment for my high school. Even before Running Start, I feel like soccer season and track season, that's always like been my highlight of the year, because that's really when I'm most social with my friends, and I enjoy coming to school. I mean, I still enjoy, but yeah, I don't know. Athletics are a very important part of my day-to-day life, and I will miss it. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ariana. Thank you all three. Appreciate you being here tonight. Excellent. Next, our next presentation has lots of staff support here. We have Jake Buchholz, we have Ron Brown, we have Tanya Brown, and I also want to recognize Jim White, Principal Engineer, Principal Energy Conservation Engineer for the PUD. Jim, thanks for being here with everyone else. But we have our Advanced Energy Management Champions here with us tonight for a board update. And these students have been very busy this fall, making an impact on a variety of companies nationally, and also working here at home in our own school district to promote energy efficiencies. This group of students recently won the NCW Tech Alliance Innovator of the Year Award in November, and we are privileged and honored to have them with us. So come on up. Let's hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gael Nunez. I'm a junior in the Wenatchee High School, and also I attend Running Start. I'm a freshman there. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody, for this opportunity that not only I have been given, but my teammates have been given, to be a part of this internship. If it wasn't for the Wenatchee High School, and I don't know if it can move to the next slide, please. Oh, is this on podium? Oh, okay. No, I went too forward. All right. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone that's here in this list, because without your guys' support, this opportunity wouldn't have been available not only to me, like I said, but to my teammates, and it wouldn't be a reality. I'd like to thank You know, this opportunity has just been better preparing me and my teammates for our future in so many ways that will be listed later on in this presentation. But if it wasn't for the support of Dr. Corey Callahar, the superintendent, if it wasn't for the board members, for their support, for allowing this internship to come in, if it wasn't for our teachers, Mr. Buells, Mrs. Brown, Mr. Deal, and Mr. Brown, you know, we wouldn't be able to work during school hours. If it wasn't for facility operations with Brian Brocky and all his staff, we wouldn't have been able to present the data that we will be showing later in this presentation. And if it wasn't for the principals of Lincoln, Orchard, and Foothills, which would be Mr. Stuber, Mrs. Royster, and Mr. Allen, we wouldn't been able to, you know, show this opportunity of how much money we can save with this. Obviously, I would like to thank NCW Tech Alliance for this Innovator Award that we were presented. And I think my most favorite my thank you is to the Chelan County PUD, because we wouldn't be able to show you guys this amount of data and money we've been saving. So thank you very much. I'll pass it on to Isabella.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start off by first thanking the board as well as Dr. Callahar for making room in their busy agenda for us to present. My name is Isabella Garcia. I'm an advanced energy management intern as well as a sophomore at Wenatchee High School and a future technology leader. Today, I'm excited to share with you our team's most recent achievement, which was winning the NCW Tech Alliance's Future Technology Leader of the Year award. This is an award that celebrates and highlights our innovative contribution to technology and sustainability in our community. So not only does AEM set the foundation for us winning this award, but it also teaches us a lot of valuable life skills, including public speaking, data analytics, teamwork, critical thinking, problem solving, report generation, and time management. Thank you.
You guys will see me again, hear me again. But you're asking yourself probably, what is advanced energy management, or better known as AEM? Well, AEM is an innovative technology solution used to make energy use visible. The solution empowers people to optimize energy use, eliminate waste, save money, and also save the planet. The point. Oh, okay. No, go back. So what is it? So as we can see here, what is also shut down with Energy Star? Well, Shut Down with Energy Star is a program that aligns the energy use with the building's activity. Sometimes that turns out to be HVAC or lights and that, and you know, water. What is that? I think it's irrigation. This is focused on the unoccupied hours as well with Energy Star. And Energy Star makes sure that everything that can be turned off is turned off, so we can save all the money possible. And as you can see here in the presentation, we have AEM plus Energy Star equals 20 to 40% cost reduction. So as you can see here on the left hand, let me tell you guys actually a little bit more about Energy Star. As we can see in the left hand side, we have Gresham Barlow, which actually turns out to be the most energy efficient school district in America. With 13 out of 15 schools are Energy Star certified, as you can see by the Energy Star score rating. Now, the rating of the Energy Star score is basically, the scoring system is 1 to 100, and the highest number being the most efficient. As we can see, 13 out of the 15 schools are Energy Star certified. And on the right-hand side, as we can see, is the Wenatchee School District, and we have many schools that are scoring high. We're having many that are scoring in the middle, and we have a lot of them that are scoring in the low. So what I would have to say is, from working with Gresham Barlow, it actually was our training ground when we were learning what AEM was. We were learning how Energy Star certified is. So we were able to get some knowledge on that, and we want to spread that knowledge with you guys as well, the Energy Star score rating with our school district. Thank you, and I'm gonna pass it on to Marisol.
I'm just going to jump in right there and tell you that Sam Barlow is my high school that I graduated from.
Oh, really?
And Deep Creek Elementary was where I went to Damascus Middle School and Deep Creek Elementary School is where I did K through.
Well, yeah,
8.
well, it's you guys' most energy efficient school district in America.
It
So.
was not that way when I was there.
Hi, the board and the superintendent. My name is Marisol Nava. I'm a sophomore at Wenatchee High School, and I'm basically like here to talk about like what the advanced energy movement does for JCPenney, and most importantly, like their weekly reports. So what we do is create these reports for the district energy manager. In this case, it's for like the north, I think northeast, and we basically tell them like what the store statuses are. Sorry. And this district, whether it's like good, poor, or urgent, if they are poor or urgent, we send out like a work order. It like that basically says that that store needs like more like fixing. So like they get people to go there and then fix the energy usage that they're like it's most being used at, and they basically just bring it back down to good because that's where you want it to be. So instead of like wasting money, it's saving money. In this report, I want to specifically talk about Wareham, Massachusetts. In the past weeks, it's been wasting over $42 a day, which is above the base load. And the base load is that red line you see like across. It's basically the minimum amount of energy the building needs like when unoccupied. And basically you want to hit that target because that's where it's good at. And with these reports, we sent out a report which basically told them that the store was not doing efficient, and they fixed it. And instead of going from wasting $42 a day, it saved $42 a day, which is overall saving over $15,000. Doing this is probably one of my favorite parts because like it means like because I know we're like helping the community, but not I can know that I'm also helping like around like the United States. And there's a lot of JCPenney's. Over 400. And when doing these reports, I thought there was only like a few, but there's a lot. But yeah, I really like helping them, especially saving money, and then it just feels fun to do it. And now I'm gonna pass it on to Stephanie. Hi, my name is Stephanie Salgado, and I'm a sophomore at Wenatchee High School. So I will be talking about the Thanksgiving break shutdown. So it is a nationally recognized best practice process, and it typically it like helps schools become more energy efficient. So for that we started with a treasure hunt, which sorry, it's too high. Okay, so for that we started with the treasure hunt, which is basically we walk around like the 3 schools after hours, so later in the evening, and we saw things that were left on. One being that air purifiers. So we got those during COVID, and we noticed that every classroom had them, but they also left them on and running. And another thing we noticed were that teachers would use their computers and stuff, but they would leave their everything on, like the little lamps and all of that. So we saw that was a problem. And for that, we took action by creating a checklist. And it's just for teachers to help them, teachers and staff to help them remember to turn off everything. So for the results for Orchard, we're successful because we did this the Tuesday 26th, and it was a 5% energy reduction, and that followed out throughout the next 5 days. So overall, we saw that it was a really like we did a pretty good job, and we got also obviously like thank the teachers for that, but overall it was successful. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Before I begin my presentation, I just want to thank the Board of Representatives and the Superintendent for allowing me to step on the stage today. That being said, my name is Zayden Juarez. I'm a sophomore here at Wenatchee High School, and I'm going to be talking about our performance report on for the Thanksgiving break shutdown on the 3 schools that we worked on. Those 3 schools being Lincoln Elementary, Orchard Middle School, and Foothills Middle School, all roughly being the same size, so they should be wasting about or consuming about the same amount of energy. All right, let's begin. Let's start off with our greatest or our strongest performing school this Thanksgiving break, Lincoln Elementary. Simply put, the school outright crushed it. They performed extremely well. But in order for you guys to better understand what I mean by this, I'm going to explain to you this graph here. So I'm going to begin by talking about this red line here. You see those spikes there. You see this red line represents the week of the Thanksgiving break. And that black line shaded by the green represents the week prior. And as you can see, that is a lot of green. So all that, the green really means all that, the energy difference in between those two dates. So you can see here, the school saved roughly about $30 a day worth of energy, like throughout the Thanksgiving break. Now, enough with the Lincoln Elementary. Let's go talk about the two middle schools here we had throughout the break. As you can see, the graphs look definitely different than compared to Lincoln, because these schools did okay at best. They're still, I have to be honest here. The schools saved just about $15 a day. So they still saved an amount of money, but the schools are definitely dominated by this pink shade here. And that begs the question, what exactly is the pink shade? But I think the pink shade presents itself as a wonderful opportunity for extra energy savings. So on top of the money that they're already saving, they can save just about $30 a day. And in the case of Foothills, saving those $30 a day can roughly equates to about over $10,000 a year. And in Orchard's case, about over $8,000 a year. So I think these schools have wonderful opportunities to continue saving energy and continue saving money. With all that being said, I want to thank all of you for taking your time and listening to me. I'm going to pass it off to my my teammate here. I forget which one's going up next, but
Hi guys, I'm Jimena, and I'm going to be talking about AEM and the importance of team building, because that's what I think is more important in our program that we have. We all know that with cooperation and having commitment, it's way more important than the teams and then individually, because we try to meet the priorities as a team and not individually, because at the end of the day, whenever we're working together, we want to value each other and not in the team and not just one of us individually. I believe that by putting the work in and lifting our teammates up, it builds a lot of trust and confidence, because without that, what is a team? And with commitment, AEM has taught us that if we commit to something, we have to make sure we commit to it and get to it, because if one of us gets thrown off the bus, then we all get thrown off the bus. And we have to carry that strength, and we're lucky that we have. And it's more powerful than individually, because like I said, we will all get thrown off the bus if we don't. But it also just teaches us how to be work committed and let us know that we get enforced to be more communicative with people and also know how to talk to them, because that's really important. Lastly, I want to say that AEM has taught us how to view our future, and it has shaped us to look at it how we want it. Like, for example, Stephanie, she had her mind made up about, oh, I want to major in architecture. And then all of a sudden, as she joined AEM, she was like, I want to be an environmental engineer. And I want to be able to help the environment, because that's what makes me proud. And I discovered this throughout the time that I had with AEM. And that's what AEM is basically. And I just feel like it's really important for us as a team to know how important team building is and the confidence and trust. So thank you guys. Do you guys have any questions?
I have one. Okay. So this isn't my expertise. And you guys did a really good job, by the way, at this presentation. So when I'm looking at the JCPenney AEM weekly performance report, how do you guys determine what is determined to be a good, poor, or urgent?
well, see, the biggest thing is, as you can see, pointing the energy out, right? And it's kind of we question them on it. We ask them whether or not, like, oh, we point it out for them, and they decide whether or not that usage is validated. So when we point it out to them, we're like, oh, you have all this opportunity to save energy, but let us know if whether or not that was intentional, right? Like you had like, let's say they threw a party or something and they had to have all these lights on or something. They basically all the biggest thing we do is point out the usage itself, and they decide whether or not it was intentional.
I also have a question for, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Also, if it's like over $100 like a day over the base load, it counts as urgent. And then I think if it's over $10, more than $10 a day or 30, I forgot, it's poor.
My question is about the Thanksgiving break shutdown. So one thing that stood out to me was that Lincoln is obviously a school that's been modernized versus the two middle schools that have not. Is it that Lincoln is like a little bit more wasteful, not shutting their things down, or do you think it has to do with the aging of the building?
Since Lincoln was like recently done like 10 years ago, it has been more energy efficient than the other two. So that has been helpful because with like Orchard and Foothills, you like what they use and everything, it's very like old. And so it's very hard to try and like replace new things or fix new things that have been broken. So that goes a lot to the waste. And from those three, actually, Lincoln is the most efficient. So I don't know if that answered your question.
To add on to that a little bit more, it hurts me to say this, but since I went to Foothills and I took lead on the Foothills project, sorry, Mr. Allen, that you're hearing, but with the HVAC system, with the heating and the cooling unit in Foothills, it actually runs on a very old computer. I think it's on Windows 95. And what is it? It's very hard to find. It's very hard to update the data, let alone to find the previous data to find how much how much money we are saving, how much actually usage there is, because sometimes it's very it's inefficient. Sometimes it says we're doing good, sometimes it says we're doing bad. So yeah, definitely the most important thing about it is the heating and the cooling units in the school, since they're very outdated.
Actually, I do have a question, because I think when you talked about it before, you talked about working with the people on the ground floor in the buildings. As you went through these three schools, who did you talk to and get information from?
Jim.
Information like to
What's happening? You looked at data, but then what's happening that causes the data to be, did you talk to people who work in the building and get their insights? And tell us a bit about that.
well, we first talked to the custodians and then we talked to Brian and then just the principals. Yeah.
Well, really to the biggest factor actually when the shutdown, that the reason why it wasn't super if I guess effective, it had to do with the custodians routine. It had to do with the lights. They have we tried our best to communicate with them, but actually, as you guys can see, as the presentation was shown, there's a huge loss when all the lights are turned on, and that's the routine they have. They like to keep all the lights on during their whole entire shift, which is actually wasting a lot of energy. So like, for example, the custodian would, for some reason, they like to keep every single classroom lights on while they're not even there cleaning it. So what is it? Just little things like that, when you think about, it really takes into effect into the performance of the school.
So hypothetically, some of these things could be used throughout the year. It's not just, wouldn't just have to be a Thanksgiving break
No.
shutdown, like
Yes.
some of these changes.
So what AEM is trying to do with the Wenatchee School District is we're trying to build a culture and try to spread awareness that this should be something that it not only should be with the elementary, the Foothills and Orchard, but it should also be a culture that should be played out every single weekend, that when there's off time. So it should be something that we should get used to, because obviously the performance isn't what we need, and it affects financially the school.
Yes, thank you so much. You are talking about changing behaviors in a school district where we have not been asked to change behaviors with energy or efficiency in a long time. So we appreciate that. We also appreciate your patience, because sometimes it takes the adults a long time to change. So, but we're very proud of the work you're doing, and thank you for representing the school district this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. And as our students finish presenting, you're more than welcome to stay. We also know that you lead busy lives as well. You're also welcome to leave if you need to, and that goes for anyone else in the room. Next up, we have Mr. Daniel Deal and his AP Environmental Studies students. I want to invite them up to the podium and thank them for allowing me to join them last week and preview their presentations in advance. So thanks everybody for being here. It's great to see you all, and head on up and let's get this party started.
Hello. My name is Eva Philippi, and I'm in environmental science. We're going to be talking about transportation and water usage at Wenatchee High School. Improvements in water conservation and transportation efficiency could benefit our students and the environment. Some topics that we're going to be discussing are our bus transportation system, some recommended improvements for that, and recommended improvements for water usage at our school. Hi, my name is Ava Joberry, and our group's focus was the transportation proposal. And our agenda today, we're just going to be going over some of the problems or issues we see with transportation, the effects of that, our evidence, and possible solutions.
So looking at the problem, all the schools or all of our schools in the school district run on diesel school buses that emit greenhouse gases that harm the environment and students. And Wenatchee High School runs on buses and and vans that use roughly 60,000 gallons of diesel per year. And that's equivalent to 670 tons of CO2 per year.
Some of the effects of this diesel burning on our Earth is that it emits a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to global warming. Transportation is 28% of global carbon emissions, so this is a significant issue that we think is worthy of being discussed, and we can make a small difference with focusing on the transportation in our school district. This use of diesel also affects our students because diesel increases risks for health issues such as asthma, heart and lung diseases, and cancer in extreme cases. And it can also cause coughing and chest irritation.
So what we're going to be looking at today for our possible action is looking at how we can possibly make all of our diesel buses electric. And we're going to be looking at the cost efficiency of this, but also possible programs, and then comparing different areas that have also gone all electric.
We took a survey of students at our school and found that 75% of those surveyed live within 5 miles of our school, which we think is a reasonable distance for buses to cover a majority of neighborhoods within that. 10% of students use the school bus, which is pretty small considering it's the main way to get to school if people aren't using cars, which they are. 51% of people use personal vehicles, which means like people are doing one person in a car, and that's a lot of cars on the road. It's a lot of cars in our parking lot, which everyone knows the parking lot is really crowded, and it's very stressful time after school, before school. So we want to look at how more people can use the bus and how we can make the buses more efficient.
Hi, my name is Joe Jarecki, and then the first short-term solution we can look at is just upgrading the current diesel engines to new diesel engines. So new diesel engines have better emissions regulators. They have particulate filters that will catch the most potent of the greenhouse gases and basically store them and then burn them off so that they aren't released into the atmosphere. And there's a couple like funding resources that we can get to make this happen. In 2010, the EPA was offered to offer rebates to retrofit and replace the engines. So this is obviously just a short-term solution that wouldn't be effective in the long run, but as of right now, to just get those, ancient diesel engines replaced and with the new technology. And then we get to the good solution, or up to your interpretation, but electric school buses use 1.5 kilowatt hours per mile on average. Our prices in Wenatchee are obviously very low because of the dams, 3.59 cents per kilowatt hour. So that makes 5.4 cents per mile for the electric buses compared to the 37.5 cents per mile for the diesel buses, assuming a $3 diesel per gallon price.
Also, I realized I didn't introduce myself. My name is Lauren Stuber, but I'm going to be also going over the maintenance costs. So electric engines have 90% fewer moving parts than diesel engines. So this means that the upkeep for the engines and things would be a lot simpler as they have a lot less things to manage. Also, electric buses would have electricity. Their budget is a lot more secure than gas prices as they fluctuate a lot. And especially because we live in Wenatchee, we're very privileged to have low electric prices. So this would make the budgeting more efficient. And each electric school bus saves the school district about $400 per operation per month. And this is a statistic that we found on a national website. And so if all of our buses were transformed in 1 year, Wenatchee School District would save $187,200 a year.
Next, looking at possible funding, because I know that's a big consideration. Like Joe was saying, there are programs like the Environmental Protection Agency, and that's just a great source of government federal subsidies for electric buses. They have grants and more. The EPA Clean School Bus Program will provide $5 billion over 5 years from 2022 to 2026 across the nation. There's also other programs like the Department of Ecology in Washington, and they have $10 million in grants for electric buses. That was last year, and then plan to do more in the future. And then also the Electric School Bus Initiative also gives funding. So there's plenty of opportunities there. And then looking at an example, Walla Walla. So Walla Walla is transitioning to electric buses with 3 imported in 2023 and 15 more planned to come within the year. They had a combination of funding from the EPA receiving $3.75 million and the Department of Ecology getting $2.09 million. Walla Walla also has their charging station at the transportation center. And then just a little conclusion, let's switch to electric buses for our environment and our school. The cost benefit and efficiency would be a great addition to transportation system and help contribute to a more sustainable future.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm with the AP Environmental Science class as well, and our group was tasked with the water audit. And with that, we looked at where is water used, and oh, sorry, my bad. So we use waters, obviously with toilets, water fountains, sinks, storm drains are a big contributor. If we look on the right, we see that sewers were about $90. Water was from water fountains, and sinks was about $170. Storm drains, which is a necessity, so it's a little bit hard to cut costs there, was about $3,250. We attempted to get information about irrigation, which if you know, is quite a big problem for Wenatchee High School, especially with the unreliability and but we were not able to get that information from the people that we contact. So yeah, it's comment time.
So looking at the sinks, we have three main bathrooms at WHS. So the CTE bathroom, which is kind of like in between the CTE and Science Hall, the bus ramp bathroom, and the Commons bathroom. As you can probably tell from the names of the sinks, we aren't too sure what specific sinks are called because none of us have really looked into that much. So we have based things off of the manual use sinks and press down sinks. And as you can see in the CTE bathroom, the press down sinks use significantly less milliliters per usage at 400 compared to 775. And then the bus ramp bathroom, while we were trying to audit these ones, they were never really opened. So we had to take that into consideration too. So we weren't able to do that. But in the commons bathrooms, there were in the new commons, there are 6 press down sinks, but they're different from the ones in the CTE hall and use significantly more milliliters per usage each time they are used.
Hello, my name is Matthias. Additionally to sinks, we also looked at how toilets affect use water and where we can make that changes to make them more efficient. And as Clementine's gone over a little bit, our CTE bathrooms, which are by the science halls, commons bathrooms, and the bus ramp bathroom, which we were able to get some more information on after it was done getting renovated, which is a great win. But as you can see, not only in the new bathroom, which is the commons bathroom, and the bus ramp and the CT, there's a wide range of where you see different types of gallons per flush and where we can make that more efficient. And it's not very consistent, probably due to maintenance and just changes how long the school's been open. And yeah, it's really important to know, especially for like a baseline where we can improve.
All right, so how can we reduce, my name is Zane Randall, part of the water group. How can we reduce water usage in the high school? So the main way we could reduce water usage that's realistic, water's pretty cheap here, so it wouldn't cut costs. You wouldn't see like benefits to costs immediately, but a way you could do it is implementing the faucets that we have near the science hall bathrooms in the Wenatchee High School. They use around half of what a general other sink uses. And so you could implement those across the school. Also eliminating the manual use sinks, which are the ones you just turn on and you can leave on forever until someone turns them off. There are many times I walk into the high school bathroom when those are left on. So just eliminating those entirely from the school will save a lot of water themselves. Another way we could save a lot of money is using manual flush toilets. Because every time you walk into a stall right now, even if you're just changing or doing something, not using the toilet, it flushes, and there's no reason for it to flush when there's nothing there. And I want to go in depth, but it wastes a lot of water. And I know a lot of people that go into the stalls don't use the toilets, and it wastes a lot of water in general. And that is a big way we could help use it. But obviously there are some janitorial issues with that. So yeah, overall, our main proposal is switching to those press down sinks that run for like 12 seconds. They provide plenty water for you to wash your hands in a good amount of time. And yeah, thank you. And any questions?
I was going to clap first, but I'll ask a question second. Thank you. For both of your groups, if the school district was studying transportation planning or efficiency of water use, would you be willing to offer your discovery and your investigation and be accept an invitation to participate?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
That's why we did the research.
Okay, all right, let's just see if we can clap for him, but.
I really appreciate both of these presentations. So in the past, probably a couple superintendents ago, Martin and I brought up the idea of kind of following Walla Walla's model of electric buses, because we had the chance to chat with one of the board members a couple years ago. And when we were just chatting about that, we also heard some like, oh no, don't go into that. There's the cost is not, it's not what you think it is, the cost savings and whatnot. So I really appreciate that, you know, you guys sharing this information, and what I appreciate more is, you know, the solutions to them.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thanks for allowing me to pop in at your class last week. And we just appreciate all your research effort and time. So thank you. Again, letting folks know that you're welcome to stay, and you're welcome to get on with your evening as well. As we move on to our strategic plan, folks, we'll be talking about the Big Six data points. Big Six data point number 3, reading on grade level. Students will read on grade level by 3rd grade and beyond. We have our Executive Director of Learning and Teaching, Heidi Busk, is here with many building leaders, as you can see, to share the story of reading and the work that is being intentionally done to support our students. Thank you all for being here this evening.
All right. Are you ready? Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share some information with you about our Big Six outcome number 3, read on grade level. We'll wait for our slide deck. There we are. All right. So tonight we'll be sharing data for our Big Six outcome number 3, as well as what schools across our district are doing to increase literacy achievement. First, I'll share our district-wide data and provide an update about OSPI's school report card data reporting. Then you will have the opportunity to hear directly from our school principals, who will each briefly share their iReady and SBA data, what they are doing to increase literacy achievement, and a celebration from the first part of the school year. Big Six outcome number 3 says students will read on grade level by 3rd grade and beyond, and will continue to grow their skills, knowledge, and abilities throughout their education. As you know, this is measured by both iReady reading assessment and the Smarter Balanced assessment. The data that feeds our Big Six number 1 comes from 2 measures at 3rd grade, 1 measure from 3rd to 8th grade, iReady, and 1 measure from 3rd through 10th grade, SBA. Before looking at our Big Six data for reading on grade level tonight, I would like to share some background information about a change on OSPI's school report card page. Achievement levels on the state assessment represent a range of performance. Levels 3 and 4 indicate a student is on track for college level learning without needing remedial classes. Level 2 indicates foundational grade level knowledge and skills. And level 1 indicates achievement that is below grade level or not at grade level. The school report card has always reported on that top set of data for students at levels 3 or 4, meeting or exceeding. They call this students on track for college level learning without needing remedial classes. This is the SBA data that we use for our school report card. Now OSPI also includes data for students who earn a level 2 when they report on students working within grade level standard. They call this new set of data students showing foundational grade level knowledge and skills or above. This data set includes students earning a level 2 as well as a level 3 and 4. In a statement released by OSPI in September, State Superintendent Chris Reichdahl said, "We often see the results of these tests being miscommunicated to mean something that they don't. The state tests are not pass-fail, and students who do not meet the college readiness proficiency standard are not necessarily below grade level in their knowledge. On the test, students demonstrate their grade level knowledge and skills along a continuum of complexity." CTE Director Jake Buchholz reminds us that many students who score at a level 2 have the skills and knowledge needed to move into career-ready pathways. Tonight, you will not only see the percent of students who demonstrated SBA proficiency and above, but we will also share the percent of students who have foundational grade level skills and knowledge or above. When we include reporting on the students earning a level 2, it really gives us a better sense of the students in our district who are working along that continuum of grade level skills. So when Dr. Kalahar presented earlier this year, we were still waiting on that Smarter Balanced Assessment data. This data is now available. As a reminder, we use a combination of iReady Spring data and Smarter Balanced ELA data to measure this outcome. In addition, we want to remember that SBA not only assesses reading, but it also assesses writing and literacy skills, while iReady measures just reading skills. As you can see by the second set of bars, close to 37% of third graders were proficient or above on the Smarter Balanced ELA assessment, both last spring and the spring before. When we look at the last set of bars, we can see that the percent of 3rd through 10th graders who were proficient or above on the Smarter Balanced ELA assessment was in the low 40s in both years. This data also includes students who chose not to test. If we zoom in to that last double set of bars, the grades 3 through 10 Smarter Balanced Assessment data, we can see the 22-23 and 23-24 data for students based on the new OSPI measure, foundational grade level knowledge skills or above. This data means that when we look at our 3rd through 10th grade students, close to 65% of them are able to read grade level text and have demonstrated they have the skills and knowledge of grade level standards along a continuum from basic to complex. Before our administrators begin sharing, it is important to remember that the many factors that contribute to improved literacy results. Our extensive work with reading science using a structured literacy approach with explicit instruction ensures all students are receiving high-quality literacy instruction daily, so students are able to access grade level or beyond text. Our WSD essential instructional strategies focus on listening, speaking, reading, and writing to impact students' ability to read, write, and comprehend text. This year, bless you, this year, we are digging deeper into structured reading and writing instruction at all levels. So that top part of that upside down triangle that Betsy Stream shared with you earlier this year. Our PLC teams collaboratively plan Tier 1 instruction lessons and strategies that will support learners during instruction and analyze data to determine next steps for students. Our systems of literacy intervention provide additional time and support for students to master skills. And as you will see and hear tonight, student literacy achievement and all of the factors that lead to student success are led and supported by our amazing team of instructional leaders. Now I'll turn it over to them to share, and we will begin with Cy Stuber, principal of Lincoln Elementary School.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you again. I don't know that I've been this nervous talking in front of you because my daughter's over there with a pen in her hand, evaluating me or judging me, or I'm not sure what she's doing. But anyway, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about these slides. You're going to see many of these look similar through the schools. Miss Buss just described what they are. Obviously, iReady on the left, SBA on the right. and show sort of the graph differences between the school year ending in 23 and the school year ending in 24 for Lincoln Elementary School. Obviously I was not involved with those school in either of these years, but one thing I can note is a huge turnaround at this elementary school and foundational skills over the last several years that I have the fortune to take over and be a part of. So I don't know if you really want me to go through this. I think one thing that is for us as leaders that is more important for us to what I look at anyway is if you look on the right, the SBA graphs between grade 4 and grade 5, rather than looking between grade 4 between two separate years, those are not comparing the same students. That's comparing two different graduation years. So what's more of interest to myself is if I look at grade 4, I look at well, I'm colorblind, but it's either blue or purple or black. Purple, yep, the purple one. On the left for grade 4 is the students on the orange, red, pink, or gray bar on the right in grade 5. So that gives you a comparison about how those similar students did between 2 years. They're not the exact same set of students because we have students moving in and out. But that's just something I wanted to point out of interest. This is looking at those foundational grade level skills, knowledge and above, and you can see it's pretty stable between those 2 years, and it looks pretty similar at all the schools. And this is that new measurement of students approaching, meeting, and exceeding, not just those meeting and exceeding. We are supposed to share something that's what we're doing, obviously, to attack this first of the big 6. So at Lincoln Elementary, this school, we've been focusing on a systematic writing process, K through 5. I think that's the next step for us in ELA development. You guys have supported our science of reading and increased focus on foundational skills knowledge. And so then the next evolution of that is linking the systematic writing process with comprehension of text. And so that goes along with Common Core standards for RL and RI, so reading literature and informational text. So we're doing that. We're focusing on student response opportunities, so how much talk time students are given during core instruction. And then we're focusing on tier 3 supports for our students. So that's times where we're supporting language learners or those students that are significantly behind academically, and how we can provide them additional supports beyond intervention. So intervention would be tier 2, where we're running small group or differentiated instruction. And then tier 3 is more focused, 1-on-1, 1-on-2, 1-on-3 type instruction. And a celebration for us is, we've had, obviously, as you all know, this has been the beginning of a new chapter for Lincoln Elementary. And so Miss Oakes and myself have been very fortunate to lead Lincoln forward. This is going super well with students and staff. The school's starting to feel like one large community instead of two coming together. It's going to take time for us to see, continue the progress that was already started before we got there, and see the kind of results that we know that we'll see in the future. But we're pretty excited about it. And it's going to take a while. We're the second largest school in the Wenatchee School District, behind Wenatchee High School. So bigger ships take a little bit longer to turn, as you all know, but we'll get there. So are we doing questions, or can I just pass this hot mic? Perfect. Next.
Actually, I want to ask a question. It's an interpretation question, because it applies to everybody. I know you're on the hot seat. No,
I already
how to read
moved the
numbers.
slide ahead, Martin, so we're stuck.
This slide will demonstrate it anyway. So previously we talked about the SBA now being grades 2, standards 2, 3, and 4. I also tracked the cohorts trying to read these graphs. And what struck me on all of the schools, so the one on the right, SBA, that is levels 3 and 4 only. We're comparing exactly the same in the 2 years. Okay. So the
Correct.
observation, and they're both spring testing, aren't they?
Correct.
Right. The observation I had, so I did a little graph, and if grade 3 in 22-23 looks performed at a higher percentage is as grade 4 in 23-24, I marked it green, and if they didn't, I marked it pink, and if they were in the middle, I marked it orange. So when I'd finished doing that, the SBA one, almost without exception, on all schools was mostly green, distinctly different from a mosaic of colors on the iReady. So mostly we can talk about that second aspect at the end, I think. But my first one was just to make sure that I was interpreting the data correctly, because that does stick out very obviously in the data, that there's a dramatic improvement across pretty much universal in the one measure and not in the other.
Thank you, Sai. So, hi, everybody. So Socorro Yanez, principal at John Newberry, and I also have Amy Dilly here as well joining us. This is a team effort. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to the board. I was listening to the students and laughing about how Eric invited the students, and I'm like, oh, Corey did the same thing for us. I was actually late to that meeting, so I was informed, and I walked in and everybody was working hard, getting prepared. I wanted to start by thanking the John Newberry staff, students, and community for their time, effort, their resilience. John Newberry has been through a lot in the last 3 years. You know, I made some notes from you know, returning from hybrid learning, staff turnover, new administration, a new leadership team. But despite all of that, we've been able to work our way out of school improvement. So that's been a huge celebration. Thank you. And then so we have also taken steps to return to pre-COVID proficiency levels. We're not there yet, but we're getting close. As we look at our iReady scores, one of the things that I wanted to note is that we've been impacted by just staff shifts, and that impact has been felt greatly at third grade, where we haven't had the same team since I've been a principal there. But our teachers are working very hard in making that and trying to make gains. As we look at fourth and fifth grade, that stayed pretty relative. And then looking over at SBA scores, again, we see that dip at third grade. But before we took that dip, we were actually getting very close to those pre-COVID proficiency levels. At fourth grade, we're actually right there at the pre-COVID proficiency levels. And then in fifth grade, we're making gains in that direction, where we're getting close. I know this is a unique experience for me because I came on board right after students came back from COVID. So there's nothing like trying to look at data when you're a new administrator and you have new staff, because that makes everybody super excited, right? So let me look at my notes. One of the things that was a big struggle was how do we look at data and how do we keep on track with the PLC work and looking at data when the data was pretty disheartening at where students were. And so I really appreciate this new setup of looking at foundational grade level knowledge and skills, because if we look back at 2021 at John Newberry, this was sitting at 57.5%. And so one of the things that we did as a staff is everybody was really focused on proficiency. But for us, one of the things that we wanted to do was look at the number of students that were 2 or more grade levels below or at that level 1 in SBA. And so our goal was to celebrate the heck out of that reduction of the number of students that we had in those 2 categories. And so that's why it's exciting to see that from that 57.5%, you know, last year was, or 2 years ago, 70%, and then last year it was at that 72%. So that's great. As coming on board at Newberry, that was not, that was not the finish line. That was like, that's what we wanted. That's the starting point that we want to get to so that we can take that next step. And so in this next slide, what Mrs. Dilly is actually going to share is the steps that we're taking to increase now that we're getting our students close, that we're getting them at that level 2. What are those next steps that we're going to take to get them to that level 3 and 4? And as we look at these steps, one of the things that I want to do is I want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Dilly, our assistant principal, because thanks to her shared leadership and having this position, that was also brought on when I came on board. We've been able to not only focus on this work, but make sure that our staff is feeling supported through the work as well. Okay, so.
All right, so our first part up here is how are we increasing our literacy results? And our professional learning community teams are focusing on our essential strategies for the Tier 1 instruction. And we're really looking forward to gains in vocabulary with them using these strategies. Also, we're administering the district reading CFAs that are aligned with the SBA. This was done last year in math, and we did see growth in math, and we're anticipating growth also in reading by them having experience with the CFAs and how they are aligned with the SBA. Our teams meet regularly, usually twice a week, to share their data, identify student misconceptions, and our next steps for instruction. And then also our lit team, each team has an opportunity to learn about what other grade levels are doing. So we have one lit team a month where we focus on looking at the data and reviewing the protocols, looking at their SMARTY goals and talking about the priority standards so they see how the different grades are aligned K through 5. Using our FIABs as an instructional tool, that is helping also the teachers and the students learn the format of the SBA. And when they're using the FIABs, the teachers are able to assist students so they have an idea of what tools they can use and how to basically go about solving problems on the SBA. Some of our celebrations from our first quarter of this school year is we welcomed our new staff and students with our Meet Your Teacher Night. And again, we have some students from Columbia that have joined us, and we also have a variety of staff members that have joined us. So part of our focus and intentional focus was to make sure that everyone felt welcomed, not only students, but staff. So we had some fun activities that we did on Principals Days right there in August to build community as a new staff. We also started our intervention groups in both reading and math earlier this year than we have in prior years, so we could really focus on getting students learning immediately those that were lacking in some of their skills. And then also, we've had 2 specific building days where we've had our coaches come in and help with our writing and academic discourse. And what our teachers have had the opportunity to do is watch our district coaches come in to one of their classrooms, and then they've been able to observe how our coach teaches the students, learn from that, and then grow in their skills and in their next steps that they'll take with both writing and academic discourse. All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Mario.
I think following Socorro is always a bit intimidating. I worked with him at Mission View for 13 years and enjoyed those 13 years working with him. So I really enjoyed getting to know him during that time, and just the level of work ethic that he displays. So someone to definitely emulate the work that he's doing, and proud of what he's doing at Newberry. So I'm here to talk about Lewis and Clark, and I've been the principal there the last 3 years, the first of those years as an interim, and then prior to that, I was the assistant principal. So through those years, just really learning the challenges and the ins and outs of running a dual language program, kind of its own beast within the Wenatchee School District, and feel like we are making some headway in different directions. Thank you to Dr. Callahar, who has helped lead some of that work, and we formed what's a dual language advisory board here at the district level that involves Dr. Callahar. Miranda's been a part of it for one thing so far, and maybe a little more moving forward. Same with Martin, I hear. So we'll see about that. But anyway, looking forward to just the work that we're doing at the district level to continue supporting dual language and what that looks like in Wenatchee School District. So the first 2 slides will be, again, very similar to what you've already seen from both Lincoln and John Newberry. I appreciate what Martin pointed out, just kind of the data across the cohorts and clarifying that. Interestingly, one thing that I noticed in looking at our data was just that disparity between the 5th grade iReady data and the SBA, and perhaps going back to what Heidi mentioned, just that writing piece that the SBA works on or addresses that iReady does not. And perhaps that was one of the factors there that we're seeing there. So it's great that as a district, we are now moving into that explicit genre writing work that is happening. And I'll speak a little more to that in a little bit. So similar to what others have pointed out, just the difference in factoring in those level 2 scores really shows a different picture of that foundational skills knowledge that our students have. Being a dual language school, we know that the research states that, you know, there's going to be a little bit of that lag in proficiency as we're moving up. So definitely have work to do. And I'm not saying that in being dual language that we can't reach higher, or that we shouldn't be reaching higher levels at the elementary grade. So it is part of my mission, part of my work that I'm doing at Lewis and Clark, that we're continuing to see our literacy levels increase. So on that note, what are some of the things that we are doing this year? Because I would echo just what my colleagues have already stated, that there is a lot of excellent work that is happening in our district, and what we are doing to build better systems and structures to have that higher achievement. So the first of those being just systematic structured literacy. I think one of the challenges at dual language at Lewis and Clark has been that structured literacy in both the English and the Spanish languages. And so one of the things that we've been really intentional about this year is having consistency across both of our languages. We have a half-time dual language coach with us this year that we did not have last year. And so she is working very closely with our kindergarten team to strengthen that along. And then the plan will be then she'll be supporting other teams as well. But we just really wanted to kind of hyper focus on that kinder team, because we know that if we can get the ball rolling there at our younger grades, it'll carry forward to our older students. Along with that, just like I mentioned earlier, implementing our explicit genre writing, along with ELA and SLA CFAs. So again, kind of that dual language component here, we've had to look at restructuring what those plans look like and how we factor in both of those pieces of literacy. So we are working on that. Our district trainers have been a huge, tremendous support in that. So thank you to both Anaisa and Lisa. And then targeted intervention has been one of our focuses. Again, English and Spanish, we're utilizing some different resources there with UFly, which is the University of Florida Literacy Institute, I believe. 95%, and then in Spanish, Próximo Camino al Éxito. And so using those to also progress monitor and be flexible with our student groupings. One area that we have not delved as deep into, but it's on one of the things we are moving into is just structured conversations with our bilingual language partners. So Sai kind of addressed that, I believe, if I remember correct, just some of the work that's happening at Lincoln. And then just some celebrations that we feel have been really positive. Again, just going back to our district trainers and having their support as we work through meshing some of these district initiatives with dual language and making those work well. Like Newberry, we feel that we have done a great job of starting our interventions earlier in the year. And then I would just add on to that with the explicit genre writing that our staff have been taking risks with that, and they're seeing that student engagement. There seemed to be a lot of trepidation to jump into that right away. But once we had some staff really jump on and jump in the water, give it a try, they're seeing the results of that. One more thing that I would like to share that I didn't include on here was just our librarian has had it on her heart as well to boost literacy and the importance of literacy. And so she's been hosting open family library nights, one of which we had tonight, and trying to focus on also groups of students. So tonight the focus was with our first grade students. And so I'm excited to hear how the turnout was and how that went tomorrow. So thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it off to Jeff.
All right. Well, let me start by saying this is a proud moment for me. First of all, Corey, thank you for the opportunity to share in front of the school board. So these first two gentlemen you heard from are Mission View products. So you can see I'm I'm still learning from them. I continue to learn from them, and I just so proud of what they've become, and they've turned some schools around, which is very exciting. So enough about them. We'll talk about Mission View. So yeah, I feel kind of redundant here. What you need to know is Mission View is a very competitive staff. I think a lot of these people know this here. We look at the data and we compare our data to our own district and out of district just to see where are we, where can we improve, where can we get better at. So we do, Martin, we do look at that cohort data quite extensively. Which if I could talk here, and we really concentrate on the SBA data. So if you can see at fourth grade on SBA, we went from 20 to 50%. That's huge. That's huge. And I think really district-wide, when you look at the fourth grade, other than one building, I believe we saw a dip. And I think a lot of it was due to the writing that the SBA does take into consideration that the already does not. So here kind of, again, if you're just comparing, this is that level 2, which I'm very happy that we're talking about that, where that wasn't the case for many, many years. So very proud of where we're at there. Can we get better? Absolutely. Will we get better? Absolutely. And I'll just talk briefly about things that we're doing to get there. So here's the deal. At Mission View, I gave this to my learning improvement team. And I've learned over the years that when you do delegate, then you got to go with what they give you. So I'm going to give you what they gave me, if that's okay. And I'll try to go quick. You've heard a lot about structured literacy, and this year we've really glommed onto the U-Fly, especially in the primary grades. And I think some of you board members have seen that in action. Doing a heck of a job for us. Working to get our students talking more as we realize that the reading, writing, listening, and speaking all combined are going to create our better learners. Administering district CFAs that are aligned with the SBA. And this is where we compare what we're doing with our counterparts in Wenatchee District. again, just to kind of see, I know last year we really looked at Lincoln on what they were doing because they were knocking the socks off our CFAs. So we were definitely talking to Lincoln, okay, what are you doing that you're getting those results? And of course, it come back to UFly. So we got everything we could around UFly and we're heading that way. Target intervention during common reading intervention blocks. That's nothing new to us. We're just expanding that. As a learning improvement team, we meet regularly to look at CFA data, which I just mentioned. In my opinion, very strong PLCs that are doing the work. Use explicit genre writing strategies focused on informational writing. And I think that's going to be a key for us as a district too. Using reteach time within the pacing and sharing reteaching strategies. So you give a CFA, see how the kids do. For those that are not quite there yet, give them a little extra shot and then reteach. Focusing on written response within the reading instruction. And vertical teaming, progress monitoring, and flexible grouping. SPED team, really proud of our SPED team this year and last year. Aligned the writing and reading comprehension to support classroom instruction for informational text. That has been a game changer, and I think we're going to see a big result with that special education piece. And then also SPED has picked up on the UFly, and they're using it during their structured literacy times. Celebrations, again, the writing training for all staff, our district coaches, and Heidi Busk have done a fantastic job with all the schools. Teachers working hard on getting more students talking. This is not an easy task, and we found that out. But we're going to continue on. We're going to get our kids talking more and more, and we are seeing it, but it is like pulling teeth to get kids to talk, which we want them to. Common grade level celebrations that our current grade level teams are sharing that the kids that they're seeing are coming to them better prepared than the year before. And that's just music to my ears, right? That's what we want to hear from our staffs. Strong partnership between the classroom teachers and the IS team. They are a solid team that work together during the intervention block. They're all our kids, and that's kind of our mantra at Mission View. I think that is it. I think, any questions? I want to end, can I end with one more? So I want to thank Heidi Busk for all of her effort. I know you guys hear from her all the time. So on behalf of all the elementary principals, middle and high, thank you, Heidi, for your job in representing us time and time again. Yes. Okay. And I believe Lance.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna start off with my proud papa moment. They're gone, but of the 20 or so teenagers that presented from the high school today, 4 of them are former soccer players of mine. So Joe, Zane, Gael, and Big Jimena, not Little Jimena. It was just a proud moment because that's being able to see them 8-10 years later to see who they're becoming, and that's why we go to work in the morning. So it's exciting to see them be successful. So very common what you guys are hearing. My focus here is just going to be comparing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. So if we use size gray band, Sunny Slope SBA gray band on the left, my son's colorblind too, so he struggles, and look at grade 3 purple to grade 4 red, those are the same kids. So instead of comparing 1 year 3rd grade to the other year 3rd grade, we're looking at growth. Same with 4th purple band, 69 to 80 grade 5. So we're trying to grow kids and focus on the individual kids versus comparing them to other kids. So we're proud of that growth and that effort. Don't see that same trend in iReady. I am curious. I know at our building, if we ask our teachers what they put a bigger focus on, it's SBA. We've even had conversation about when we give the iReady, because we don't want it to mess up our SBA scores from having kids fatigued from taking the iReady close to the SBA. So there's the tier 2, 3s, and 4s there. Once again, I'm I'm going to just mention mobility here too. Sunny Slope has the lowest poverty and bilingual rates, but I also believe we have the lowest mobility. So when we're looking at cohorts at Sunny Slope, we're losing about 7 to 10% of kids per year are moving out or in. And I would guess that in some of the buildings in the district that's double or triple that. So it's harder to see the growth with the investment that you make. Some things that we've done up at Sunny Slope, and a big shout out to Jody Smith, the Dean of Students, who's been there. It's her 3rd year there with me and who works so hard. But we have more staff doing letters training, which helps with some of the foundational skills. Quality of student talk, we've heard that from other people. We're really pushing kids to have structured conversations with each other, and spend a lot of time in our walkthroughs to put a focus on that with our staff. One thing I found when I got to Sunny Slope is a lot of our paras worked in their own place somewhere in the building with their intervention group. And we've tried to move toward having them in the same room as the teacher, that they're near the experts. The experts can look out for them, give them tips and tricks and such. So that's been a change. We've also increased our bilingual support staff, and a huge shout out to Anaisa, who's helping, because we don't have a bilingual intervention and specialist teacher at our school. We just have some parapros. So Anaisa is a big help with them. Celebration goes back to the walk to the read piece. We're just getting better and better at having our paras team up with our teachers. And our K2 is not just our building, but across the district, saw huge increases in our fall foundational skills assessment over previous years, which that'll take a couple of years to pan out in the 3, 4, and 5 SBA data. We are also using the University of Florida Literacy Institute, or UFly, in core instruction in K1, and our teachers love it. And I feel like that is having a huge impact on those foundational skills assessments. Any questions? Okay, let's welcome Shelley Jelsing from Valley Academy. Please welcome Jessica Bryant from Washington Elementary.
I live that Lance has with the iPad, and I have like tablet. So a lot of this you guys have heard, and I, much like the rest of the principals, we spend a lot of time digging through this, and I am super excited. Really, you guys, I'm going to skip forward. Oh, hold on. I have 4 minutes. And I tend to talk a lot, so I'm going to start my timer. So I'm going to skip forward to the next slide, because I think that this slide right here, looking at the foundationals, I think this is where our teachers are going to really start to see the work they've been putting in, because this right here is starting to show what our teachers are feeling in the classrooms when they look at our kids every single day. We've been putting in the time in the structured literacy. We've been putting in the time assessing our kids and looking at the data and grouping our kids. And this is starting to show that payoff. Do we want to get our kids out the door ready to be able to make any choice they want to be college ready? Absolutely. But I think this is going to help our teachers begin to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel and the work really is paying off, because the other slide doesn't really always show us that. So with that, I kind of want to talk about what we're doing at Washington. So obviously our goal always is to increase literacy. We were blessed this year to have an additional interventionist. So we've got 3 intervention positions, which has allowed us to have our interventionists specialized by grade bands. So Mrs. Sutton does K1, Mrs. Zanal does 2-3, and Mrs. Nieves, I know I'm going to say that wrong. I've been practicing a lot, is 4-5. So they really get to spend time in the PLCs and really get acquainted with those teachers and really know those kids. And I am really excited to be able to offer that. They are also doing math and reading this year. So that's kind of a little caveat that we haven't been able to have in our building. So our interventionists also collaborate with our paraprofessionals, and they do an amazing job training our para team so that they know the content, they know the curriculum, they know what they're doing, they feel confident. And then we can go back and forth and be like, hey, have we thought about this? And then they collaborate so they're not doubling up. So Mrs. Sutton might be teaching one thing while Dolly might be teaching another thing. And so I feel like we have a really amazing para team, and a lot of that is contributing to, that's from our intervention team, keeping them up and running and meeting their needs. We have systematic groupings and instruction based on data. And this goes all the way back to the good old days. I mean, we've been doing systematic intervention for years, and it really does pay off. And one of the things that is really huge for me is that systematic placement of students. I feel very strongly about making sure that our kiddos are placed with the most skilled practitioners. And that isn't always necessarily the person with a certain title. It's really the person that has the expertise. And so when we sit down as a group, the teachers chat about who's going to take what. And I'm not really, I feel really good about this, or maybe I need to swap out a little bit. And it's not always just our interventionist and all of their pairs pulling the kids out to go teach a group somewhere else. We really take time to talk about who's taking which group. And even I had a third grade team member this year say, let's think about that, because I could probably serve more kids at one time just because of my skill set. So let's think about maybe we could free some people up. And so I think those are the cool conversations that we're able to have when we really look individually at kids. Let's see here. Taking a look at our next one, we've got our data review frequency, the use of data to drive instructions, taking a look at our progress monitoring. We don't want to leave kids in groups for a really long time and not see if they're making growth. We don't want to get to the end of the year and be like, oh, look at that, they're not making any growth. It's also really important that we use assessments at the kids' instructional level so that we can really tell if the kids are making growth. If we've got a kiddo who's two grades below and we're only progress monitor them at grade level, it's going to look like they're never making growth. And in actuality, we are closing the gap. The other thing I'm super excited about this year is implementing the writing genre. My timer's up. I got 1 minute. I think that's going to help us close that gap, you guys, that we're seeing in the SBA. We've got our kids with that with the foundational skills that they need, but if you can't write, you're never going to close that gap. And there is writing in everything. So we've been, like everybody else, implementing that this year, doing our CFAs and working on that alignment with the SBA. Our teachers this year, we have expanded our UFly usage K2. So that is our core instruction. Every kid's receiving UFly every day. And that was a team decision. They saw the benefits during intervention and they wanted to bring it into their classroom. So that was exciting to see that. And thanks to Mrs. Sutton running your internship this year, we are also doing a big focus on attendance, because none of this is going to happen if the kids aren't in their seats. So we have a really great banner hanging up. You can look and see. Last week, we averaged 92% attendance. We were super excited when we got out of the 300s in a few days, and those tardies started to drop. I blame that on the traffic jam in the parking lot sometimes. Some celebrations to share from first quarter. Overall, our grades have seen a decrease in intensive students coming in, which is exciting to take a look and be like, wow, we just don't have as many kids in our intensive groups. We might need to boost some of our on-grade level groups and add some teachers there because we have too many kids. I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is watching that culture shift to everybody owning the kids. With the PLC work, our teachers are talking about all the kids and owning everybody, and there's so much shifting back and forth that I think being able to have a conversation and every teacher at that grade level knowing who our intensive kids are and knowing who's making success and who's having success and who needs some more instruction is huge. And also, I'm really happy that we jumped on to explicit writing. We've been talking about it for a long time, and I'm glad that we just took the leap this year, and our coaches have been a huge help in that, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Thank you. Oh, and I did invite Ryan, but he was at a concert tonight, so we had to split duties. Sorry, Shelly Jolson.
Hello. Okay, so I'm Shelly Jelsing. I'm the director of programs at Valley Academy. A lot of people wonder, what exactly do you guys do at Valley Academy? We partner with our parents. So our teachers teach some of the time, but our parents are also partnering with us in the education of our students. So we help to set up the programs, and the parents do some of that educational piece. So that really is what Valley Academy is about. And our staff, we have a very small staff of about 13 total people. We have a special ed teacher for the first time this year that has been really helpful And we have 12 amazing teachers who are there sometimes 2, 3, or 4, or 5 days a week. So we have some part-time staff members, but they do an excellent job of really trying to get the kids doing the basic type of skills, but also enriching some of the opportunities for our parents, because that's what many of our parents are looking for. So if you look at our data, and we look at iReady versus ESPA, one of the things that I think really jumps out at me is when I started 2 years ago, we started talking about having some sort of measure to be able to see what our students are learning, because it is difficult if you only have students 1 to 2 days a week, and the rest of their time they're at home using that at-home curriculum with their parents. So if I'm looking at talking to our parents about how we can look at iReady and utilize some of the next steps in that testing to help them know where their kids are actually at, you can see that our scores there are a little bit higher than what you would see in our ESPA. Many of our parents have not necessarily been super excited about testing in the past. And so it's been talking and having that conversation about where that can be helpful and what we can do with that information. So we have a lot less of our families that are into the idea of the ESPA overall. So that does, I think, affect our ESPA scores. When you do look at this, one other thing that I noticed is our parents are not super privy or loving of the idea of their kids utilizing a computer often. They want their kids to have hands-on learning. They want their kids to be practicing with a pen and a paper and a book. They would rather them not be on a computer. So a lot of times when you're looking at the idea of ESPA, what I noticed this last year is many of our kids did not necessarily know completely how to use that program, because that's not something they've been utilizing at home. They do amazing things. Our parents are amazing educators and do a great job. I don't think it really translates into that ESPA based on the fact that our parents and our students are not utilizing that a whole lot at home. But with that being said, as you look right here for our foundational grade level knowledge and skills are above, you see that our levels are not bad. And the reason that they're not, and they're pretty good at this point, I think have room for improvement. But as you look at our levels, one of the things that you will see is that our students are utilizing great programs in order to learn those foundational reading skills. And we have several different ones that are approved from the state as well as through our program that our families are using. So I just wanted to explain kind of the difference in our data, maybe so you could see what that looks like. We've made some changes this year to increase literacy results. Our block classes used to have 4 to 5 different subjects in 2 to 4 hours in our building. So that was a lot for our teachers to try and focus on. So we had so many areas of focus, we decided that we were really going to focus on literacy and numeracy being the 2 focuses that we wanted to make sure we were looking at and measuring. So if you look at those literacy scores, we're starting to see some traction with that. We've been providing the reading workshops for our teachers, as well as we're going to provide some more reading instruction for our parents just to help educate them on how, when their students are struggling in reading, what are some things that they can do in order to help their students at home. We are going to be offering reading foundations assessments in January that helps to inform parents. It's really hard for us to pull kids out if they're only in building 1 to 2 days a week for a couple of hours here or there. To pull them out of class to do some of those reading foundation assessments is tough. So we are going to ask parents to bring their kids in on a different day that they're not receiving that in-person instruction in order to have those assessments done. So again, we could better meet the needs of our students. We've been trying to use Lexia more often and talk about how that can be helpful. And then also printing out the skill builders in the areas that are needed. And then just really sharing some of that information and making sure that that communication and parent partnership truly is working together. That we are communicating what the needs might be and how we can help to meet those needs at school, as well as how we can help them meet those needs at home. Some of those celebrations, again, from the first quarter is just realigning our block classes to focus on literacy. We have added in that explicit writing process and have gone to many of the different trainings, and I think we're seeing a lot of leverage with that. We have fun support classes such as book club, fun with children's literature, and writers workshop that are really trying to just supplement some of the education happening at home in a fun and interesting way. We also have math Olympiads, math is cool during the day, and some other programs that are just different than what you'd see in a normal brick and mortar. We are using UFly resources as well as helping point our parents in that direction if their students are struggling in certain areas, because UFly has been great, as well as pointing them at some literacy games for them to practice at home. But all in all, we are different in the way that we do things, but we're hoping that we continue to see some traction and some growth with our kids. I cannot thank our instructional coaches, MTSSs, Heidi enough, as well as the people that have allowed me to pull people in to their classes so that they can watch what their instruction looks like and try and figure out how it can maybe mirror that a little bit more in a little amount of time. But I think the biggest thank you is my teachers. They have up to 8 preps. They work really hard and do an amazing job. So, but thank you guys for having us up here.
We are moving on to our middle schools, but do you have any just quick questions about elementary, or are you ready to move on to middle?
University of Florida Literary Institute. Somebody said we should know what it is, but I didn't recognize the name related to what we learned. Can you tell us a little so we?
Yeah. So it is a resource to teach our structured literacy foundational skills. So in the past, teachers have had to create choose the words, create the lesson. We had a script to teach specific explicit instruction for phonology and phonics and fluency, word, all the pieces, comprehension and vocabulary. But it puts it together in a way that there's slides that are made already for the teachers to build off of and still teach that structured literacy routine that is part of what we do as a part of the science of reading. So it's a resource that makes it work really well for teachers. Yeah. All right. We're going to move on. Oh, go
I
ahead.
have questions.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't expect answers, but what I would, I have very strong feelings about standardized testing. For multiple reasons, but I wrote my master's thesis on the impacts of standardized testings on marginalized students. So take that information and while I ask my questions, I would like to see how our SBA data or iReady data compares to our CFAs. Because I'm assuming there's going to be a significant increase in those students at grade level versus what the SBA or these standardized tests are showing us. Thank you for providing the data again. I would like to see a breakdown, I would like to see a breakdown of demographics of students.
Absolutely.
One of the things that Mr. Yanez mentioned was that, was it him? I don't remember, but anyways, just the demographic breakdowns. And I know there's interventions at the district level, but I think, and this is my soapbox because I say this all the time, if we look at the demographics of the students not meeting the standards, we know who we're going to see. And I think we need to tailor, and if this, and I'm not saying it's not happening, but tailoring those interventions to meet the specific needs of the students. Otherwise, that, like I said, that gap is going to keep widening.
Absolutely.
And when I think of educational equity, creating systemic interventions is not exactly what I think of educational equity. And then grouping. Have we moved back into grouping the concept? My concern with grouping is that it reinforces the low performing students being grouped with low performing students. And so they're not exposed to higher achieving students. And how does that, I know at one point we moved away from that. I heard it mentioned here. My concern is there.
Yeah, let me clear that one up right away. So we are not grouping for core instruction, for tier 1 instruction. It is everybody in the classroom together getting that instruction with all different levels. When we do group is when we pull together for our intervention time for skill-based groups. So everybody gets up, everybody moves to their skill-based group, they get their skill-based instruction, and then we go back to the class. So it is not what you are thinking of in the old walk to read model where we had a group of students who all went to this teacher and they all got the higher, like more deeper, richer conversations. And this group was the Bluebird group, and this group was, so it's not like that anymore. It is best practice to group our students by skill for intervention. And that's when we group our students.
I'd be interested in seeing how that, how it functions at a building level for
Yeah.
future classroom visits.
Yeah. And we got to see a little bit of it when we went on our learning walk. So yeah, we can even do a workshop on how we group students for intervention and what that looks like. We'd love to do that. And yes, I know demographics and breakdowns are super important. And I know we looked at a lot of data last spring about that. And we will again look at that. What our purpose today was to really show the measure of the big six. Like, what is that measure and how are we doing on that one, that exact data that feeds into our big six. But we know there are many factors to improve that data.
And it's not just looking at data, but what have we done differently a year ago, 2 years ago?
Mhm.
And what is the correlation to those and versus systemic versus individualized?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let you know, one of the things that's happening now with our interventions is last year we talked a lot about that students who are learning a language needed additional visual supports and things during that intervention time. And we're working on that now. I see Anaisa is gone because her little had to go to bed, I'm sure. But we are at this moment, teachers and intervention teachers and Anaisa are working to add visuals to vocabulary when they're learning about cat. And now we have a visual of a cat. So we are doing that work to make sure that we are starting to meet those needs of our students during that intervention time. So I'm gonna step away, let middle school talk, and then we'll move on to high school after that. So here we go. Craig Allen.
I'll try not to mess with the mic too much because Janelle's after me and we'll do this. It's a great adjustment. So thank you for inviting me to share a little bit about what's going on at Foothills Middle School. I'm Craig Allen. I'm the principal at Foothills, which is also the home to what I now consider the longest continually running Windows 95 operating system in the Wenatchee Valley. Yes, we do have to update it with a floppy disk, and it is in the attic. So little 2 bits on our HVAC system as I learned to use the button clicker. All right, questions. So Foothills Middle School, assessment trends, standardized assessment trends. You can see similar trends as you saw at the elementary levels. We have taken what I would like to say is a gentle step downward as we see it in the graphs on both the ESPA and the iReady testing. And foundational skills saw a similar trend as well. So without going into excuses, it's important that we identify the whys behind those. We have several challenges we're working on both in the past and as we move into the current and the future years. One thing we're working on quite a bit is testing fatigue. I share similar concerns about standardized assessments. On the iReady, we actually have about a quarter of our students are taking almost 2 weeks to complete that test that we take 3 times a year. That test is supposed to be about 45 minutes long. And those students who are taking approximately 2 weeks, testing about an hour a day, or taking about 2 weeks, are 2 very polarized different groups. It's those students who are not really taking it too seriously and wanting to spend a little more time outside of the classroom in that testing setting. After a couple days, they get pulled to a separate setting. Then it's those students who are so nervous about getting a problem wrong, they overly obsess on every question. So we're working on some test taking strategies themselves so that students can really show what they are able to do and what they can do to get some more reliable data on student achievement itself. On the ESPA side, last year we saw a dramatic increase in the number of families who opted out of the assessment. Just looking at the signed waivers from parents themselves, historically we've only had about 3 or 4 each year. Last year we had almost 20 parents sign that opt-out form that our district provides. And those are just the parents who signed the form. So we had quite a few students who opted out of taking that assessment. A large number of them were actually placed in our advanced levels of classes. So buying into this assessment is one thing that a challenge that we're facing so that our achievement is reflecting what our students are actually able to do. With that said, we still have a learning gap that we need to close, and we have a lot of work to put in for that as well. That is by no means the only reason we're not achieving where we need to be. In the face of what we're doing to combat some of our challenges and to get reading proficiency up, we're also looking at a master schedule that's drastically changed how we function and what our classrooms look like with limited times in our traditional PLC groups and class sizes that last year were 18 to 24 students. This year are 30 to 35 students in each of our ELA classrooms. So that's an additional challenge that we have to combat to make sure we're being as efficient as we can with all of our best practice strategies that we have. So breaking it down into kind of our tiers, we are focusing heavily on the WSD essential learning strategies in tier 1, those academic discussions, getting students highly engaged in that initial instruction. And then this year, with all the changes in master schedule, we found an opportunity to restructure and reinvent what we're doing for intervention. And what we're seeing at Foothills Middle School is a system very similar to what the elementaries introduced, with our mindset of elementary should not be preparing their students for middle school, because that once they get to middle school, we forget about them, we leave them behind. That's not the case. We're bringing more continuity. So when students are getting that individualized instruction at elementary school, we're also able to continue moving forward with that at the middle level in hopes that we can get them high school ready by the time we're passing them off to the high school. It's a little bit more difficult within a master schedule at a secondary level because of all the teachers that we have and the changes in the number of teachers we have available for intervention. So what we did is we mobilized our paraprofessionals. We have about a dozen paraprofessionals that historically have been in the classroom helping students, helping with some behaviors. If there's a student over here having some difficulties, they would go sit with that student and help them work on whatever they're working on in class on grade level skills. What we've done is we repurposed them to lead intervention groups. So we trained them, we worked with them for several days at the start of the year in some research-based programs, and we meet with them weekly. Every Monday, our intervention teacher meets with them and trains them up on what's coming up. And they're providing small group instruction as we go through the year. So similar to the elementary school levels, we have students in our primary instruction. And then within that same block of time, the last 30 minutes, students who are not up to proficiency are meeting in very targeted learning groups, getting very targeted research-based instruction. One of the difficulties that we saw historically in our foundational skills is students, once they got to the middle school level, our intervention was really based on grade level skill deficits. So a 7th grader was receiving intervention at a 7th grade level. A lot of these 7th graders have 3rd and 4th grade reading levels. So what we weren't targeting were those foundational reading skills, the how to read that gets them to those 7th grade literacy skills. So we're focusing more heavily for those target students who need it on those foundational reading skills. So we're very hopeful we'll see quite a bit of change on that side of things. In addition to that fluid grouping of students, those almost walk to read groups happen within the classroom, and they reshuffle very regular. Every few weeks we reshuffle those groups. We also have longer term placements for students, and we've repurposed some of the classes that we're currently offering. We've created a 6th grade tutorial class that spends half the period on direct reading instruction, half the period on direct math instruction. We've doubled the amount of AVID classes that we're offering, and within AVID, we're providing targeted intervention supports at a higher level of intervention. It's not just students who aren't proficient, it's getting students to a more advanced level of proficiency. And then we have our blocked ELA and social studies course classes in 6th and 7th grades. We're very excited with the potential to those. We're seeing it in action. A lot of students who aren't able to access their learning in the traditional setting in that core block of instruction. A lot of what we see is them starting to check out for the last 30 minutes. So instead of that checking out for 30 minutes because they're not able to do those skills, we're putting them in small groups, and they're super highly engaged with those groups. We're seeing them experience that success with peers who are also experiencing success and providing them opportunities to celebrate that success. Our intervention groups are extremely positive, and students are wanting to go there. They're asking their teachers, can I now go to this classroom or to this teacher and work with this teacher over here? So it's very impressive with how it's working. And that's really our celebration, even with our higher class sizes, that we're able to deliver that very targeted, very specific instruction to those kids who need it most, freeing up our classroom teachers to reteach and intervene with students who are at that grade level of instruction. So things are looking very good at Foothills Middle School. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Janelle Royster at Orchard.
Craig, thank you for being so thoughtful and not changing the microphone, because that was my biggest fear for today, because I knew he was before me. Thank you for having us today. This will be quick. I know this has been a very long day for you all. I will not spend a lot of time on this. I will highlight our cohort of students because that is what we focus on in order to drive our instruction. We have to look at individual student growth and group growth in order to know where we need to go. You see our sixth graders 2 years ago, seventh graders last year, and now I'm excited to see where we can take them in eighth grade. Looking at this, I know it doesn't look great, but it does look great to us. And it really brings to light that we have about 59% of our students who are functioning at a level that they can be successful in the future. That's huge for us. And those level 2s are so close, some of them to level 3, that instruction that we provide them can push them to that level. So that is huge for us. I agree with Jessica. That is really important for our teachers. She had to go, huh? Really important for our teachers to be able to celebrate that. I am going to spend a little bit more time on this. Orchard is a school and improvement for our students with disabilities. We have done a lot of changes this year because of our schedule, and we took away an RTI block for every single student. So we've had to try and restructure and configure how we support all of our students' needs, especially our marginalized students. Orchard prides themselves on removing barriers for students in order to see success. And that success is academic, social, emotional behavior. So some of those things that we did this year, we rostered our sixth grade students that are functioning 3 grade levels or below in ELA to an intervention class. Otherwise, they wouldn't have time to get intervention throughout the day. We chose sixth grade because our hope is that they gain some of those foundational skills to then move into 7th and 8th grade and feel more successful as they move. Our ELA interventionists and paras are focusing on pulling smaller groups of 7th and 8th graders to fill in those gaps and provide foundational skills and comprehension skills. New to middle school this year, and this is for all 3 middle schools, our level 1 ML students, so that's our monolingual students, are rostered to ELA and social studies classes with our ELD teacher. Those students, we've got 14 of them in our school at Orchard right now, and they are being provided very intentional language building skills in order to get them to be able to access grade level content. So much of that is happening during that ELA and social studies block of classes. Our inclusion specialists are new this year. They are provided by special education, and they play a huge role in supporting our students on IEPs. Not just individually the students, but also our staff and our teachers who are tasked with having large range of students, 1st grade level all the way to 8th grade level in their classes, and being able to support those teachers in modifying and differentiating instruction on a daily basis for those students. One of our SIP goals is all around belonging and connectedness, which is Big 6 number 2. I think that falls before anything else does. And so we focused heavily on, our district has a climate survey that we give it at the end of every year. We pulled 5 questions out of that survey that tied directly to students' feeling of belonging and connected at Orchard. And we gave those to them this fall. I'm super happy at the results. Our students on IEPs, I pulled IEP students out because those are students that we are in improvement for. But 78% of our students report that they feel like they belong at Orchard. And then 88% of them feel like they have at least one adult they can go to for support. That speaks volumes to what our staff does each and every day for our students.
Good evening. I'm Jacqueline Estefan, the proud principal at Pioneer Middle School. The first thing that I think is unique about this slide that is different is that our Smarter Balance scores are a little higher than our iReady scores. And we've done a little investigating about why that might be. And I think we can attribute the really hard, focused instruction of writing by our core teachers to why some of our students are more successful on the Smarter Balance than the iReady. It's a theory. We're not sure. Lots of factors. We're very proud, like many of our schools, about the percentage of students that are able to reach proficiency when we include the foundational skills, the level 2 foundational skills. But we know that we still have intense work to do for about 30% of the students at Pioneer that are in that 3 or more grade levels below in reading. And that is a passion of mine and a passion of our teachers to increase that number. We want that number, this number, to be 100%. How we're doing that is comprehensive. There are so many factors, but a few that I wanted to highlight tonight. The focus on academic vocabulary, one of the pieces that I want to highlight is that we have taken that responsibility in every class, every teacher, every content area. So I'm excited to welcome the board to Pioneer in January for a learning walk, where you won't just see explicit academic vocabulary in what we consider core content classes, but also in our electives, such as music, dance, PE. You'll see it across every class. We're all taking responsibility for language and for vocabulary and for expanding the vocabulary of our students. Another highlight is an academic success class that is in addition to the core instruction that they're receiving in heterogeneous groupings. We have ensured, this is one of our celebration, that 30% of students that were level 1 was about 150 kids. And we went through name by name to ensure that every one of those students in level 1 have small group reading instruction every day. And that is powerful in a middle school level. And we're very proud of that intentional work that was done student by student. And some of them are served in that academic success class. The newcomer class has already been mentioned. When I'm looking for a happy place to go, that's it. I have 12 students who are in their first year in this country, and it's a beautiful place to see students have an opportunity to be vulnerable and to take risks with their English language. So we're excited about that new offering this year. I mentioned the first celebration already. The second one has been mentioned by another school this evening around attendance. Post-COVID, Pioneer Middle School had dismal attendance rates. It would be nearly impossible to expect a school to have improvement when only 50% of the students were attending on a regular basis as defined by OSPI. This year, currently, 75% of our students are on track for missing less than 10% of the school year. And we believe that by being present and having that positive attendance, we're going to see growth in reading. So thank you so much.
Questions for our middle school administrators or me? And okay, all right, we're going to move on to the high school.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Molly Butler. I'm an assistant principal at Wenatchee High School. When you get to high school, you know you're kind of close to the end. So congratulations to you all. This has been a long presentation. I'm going to use this tonight. Well, I want to start by saying that I could not have set up a better opportunity to talk about how many incredible students we have at Wenatchee High School by what you guys got to see at the beginning of tonight. We have incredible programming. We have students learning at high levels, clearly engaging with high level texts and applying that knowledge in a million awesome ways. What we also know, because we have been a part of their journey to this academic excellence, is that they get something pretty big about this assessment. And it is that they don't have to take it to graduate from high school anymore, especially if they are achieving at high levels and they know they're going to be taking the SAT or an AP test, which is going to check that box for a lot of them in that pathway. So when you look at our data here, you can see that last year, let's look at this one. This is the one we're all talking about tonight. Last year, we had 59% of our students demonstrating that they are at that foundational level or above. What we know is that 29% of our total student population did not take this test. They opted out, followed through with the opt-out process last year, which is a big deal because we agree that assessment fatigue is a real thing. And we know that we want our students to be able to demonstrate their learning well. We also believe this to be a valuable tool to tell us what we're doing well or what we need to work on. So as we fast forward here to what are we working on, what are we doing, we're really excited about this board policy that we are implementing, in which a student is going to be required to attempt this assessment and give us, their instructors, an opportunity to know what they know, so that we can continue to work to do our job better. I also want to point out, and this is something we're very proud of as well, that we had 12% of our students tested at a level 1. So if you do backwards math, which I'm not going to right now, you can see that that gap is pretty large between the number of students that are only testing at a level 1 and the number of students we really have a picture of where they are testing. It's also important to note, kind of back to Maria's point earlier, that when you look at our population of students who are on IEPs, who are our multilingual population, it is a lot more than 12% of our overall population. So we're really proud of that, which I just want to point out a couple things that we have here to talk about in terms of what we're really proud of, which is our inclusionary practices. This year, and this is a big system shift for us, our students on IEPs are almost exclusively served inside their general education setting for 100% of their day. So that means that our inclusionary specialists, our IEP case managers, are spending a lot of their time in the classroom, in the gen ed classroom with our students, supporting them with their peers and their grade level techs. In addition to our students with IEPs, that is also the case for our multilingual students. So really excited about that. We've added support this year. We have added an ML specialist to work in collaboration with English teachers around some areas that we have seen our multilingual students traditionally struggle to earn credit or to meet proficiency, that she is now collaborating with them to support those students inside those classrooms. And another really cool celebration, and this is where I'm going to move on from, is that we shifted this year from a system in which an upcoming 9th grader would choose whether or not they want to take an advanced class or a traditional 9th grade English class to auto-enrolling them into an advanced class if they did score a 3 or a 4 on their 8th grade SBA, which has been really successful. We're seeing that overwhelmingly that those students are doing well and meeting proficiency in that advanced level course. We had a very small number of students request to move out of that. So overall, those are the signs that we're seeing that we think that's been a pretty cool shift for us. So yeah, I'm going to move on. You know a little bit about, you got a chance to see some of the career focused learning that our kids are doing too. So that's another huge place of celebration for us. So, all right. The one and only Jennifer Devereaux. Oh boy.
Hello, good evening. Very excited to come and share some of the unique things that we are doing at Westside. So I'm thrilled about being able to see this second slide, and thank you for including these level 2 learners, and those foundational skills are so important, and it's great that they are being honored as being part of the data now. We did also see a shift in the participation rate from 22-23 to last school year, as well as the high school did. But I'm not going to read all this. Okay. But what I will say is that there's a lot of things that are happening at Westside on some very individual basis, because we are very unique in the fact that if I was an ELA teacher at Westside, I would have students in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade in one class period. And even within that, because we are at a work at your own pace model, all of those students can be working on completely different things. And so it is up to the creativity and the expertise of our teachers to they have to include all of these amazing strategies, and they build them into the curriculum in the students, whether it's a paper packet, whether it's the curriculum on and the coursework on Canvas. That has to be built in so that students have those scaffolds and those supports from the very beginning. And because our teachers are not up doing direct instruction, for a portion of the class period even, they are able to spend so much more time doing that one-on-one individual work with students that is so crucial to relationship building. It is crucial to students feeling valued and being seen and being heard. And it is something that we really thrive on that model at Westside. So there's a lot of great things going on there. Celebration from first quarter, we moved into this the inclusive openers that we have been doing with our admin groups for the past couple years, moving that into almost 100% of our classrooms at the beginning of every class period have an inclusive opener where we are working on the essential strategies of speaking and listening and getting kids to talk a little bit, even when kids are on different places in their work, in their coursework, they're still able to talk about maybe where they are in their packet, or I finished this earlier than I thought I would, or this is where I'm stuck in this area. So they're still able to find connections with each other, even though they may not be in the same place in their coursework. And one thing that is not on there that I am super proud of, our 4-year graduation rate in 2019 was just over 40%. And in 2023, that graduation rate was just over 70%. So we have made incredible gains in moving students towards that graduation rate. We are in school improvement for graduation rate, and we will continue to just build on that as we love our students and meet them where they are through all of the things that have happened in their life. And we are so thrilled that they walk through those doors every day, and we are proud of the work that we do at Westside. Thank you.
That was a lot. It was amazing. And I can't even say enough about how proud we are of these administrators and the work that they lead. It's phenomenal, and it makes me tear up because it's just great work. Anyway, do you have questions? We're just so proud of you. Thank you for doing this tonight.
I love the concept, the idea of auto enrolling. I know Bridgeport has been doing this with AP classes for many years, and it seems to be a very successful approach to it. I'm gonna push that we push some of those high twos into auto enrolling.
Yeah, and any student can choose. So maybe that's one of the things that we felt really proud of was that equity piece of this auto enrollment, because many parents didn't know that that was something that could happen, or that there's students could choose that. So now it's so much more equitable, and maybe it's in addition to that, really talking about which students might again benefit and nudging them into doing that too, even if they're not quite there yet. So yeah, it's a great idea. All right.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you all for sharing your experiences. It's really neat to hear both the things that are kind of implemented system-wide, and then the nuances and the changes and nuances at each school and how it's different, and just the energy you all bring and the expertise to your own buildings and your own students, and really trying to make sure that every student is valued, seen, and heard, and individualizing so that they can all be their very best. I appreciate all the work that you all are putting in. You actually do feel like a really cohesive team. So I just appreciate that, appreciate your time. This is a great presentation. So thank you.
She got to her buzzer first. I was gonna say all that. Thank you guys for coming.
And I want, excuse me, sorry. I want to address the board and the community rather than just you, because we've listened to a solid, awesome, methodical explanation of a ton of work that you have all done, and I do thank you for that. And we've seen the development of that work over the last 2 years. We kind of as a nation have a disease of impatience, and it's difficult to look at solid work without data. And now really we're seeing not quite the first, but you're coming out with more data, but at the general level. So then kind of echoing what Maria said, we need to look at disaggregated demographic data. But, you know, we've gone from the planning and doing and structuring without which you'll not achieve success to beginning to look at something that we would like to be better. And all of you have been very honest in acknowledging that. And I think then we have to go further ahead. But what I also see is as you've been executing these programs, lots of examples of adapting, making changes for improvement. It's kind of dynamic. And I think it's very, very helpful. So that's why I said that thank you, but you've given a message to the board and the community of good work that's being done.
All right. Yeah, they're amazing. Let's give them a round of applause.
I just want to say thank you to everyone as well. We felt it was very important that the board hear from our practitioners in the building and our instructional leaders. So thank you. Well done. It was a great job. We're so proud of you and the work that you do. So thank you. And you can leave. And as everyone is leaving the board, we'll move on to. Yes, I know. Interestingly enough. Well, I gotta lead into it. We have the next part of our board meeting is an action item that is ironically the district requesting board approval to purchase 2 new buses from Bryson Sales and Services. These buses are for the 25-26 school year. As we know, due to delivery delays and supply chain issues, it is necessary for the district to secure those bus orders far in advance, as Sean's memo to the board shared. So just a little bit of background, and then Board President Tucker Jackson, you can move forward with a request for a motion.
Do we have to do discussion first, or are we just going? Okay, do I have anyone that calls for a motion? Close?
I move that we approve the school board or school bus purchase as proposed. I second. No discussion.
No. Is there any discussion? This is a team effort. I appreciate it, guys. I'm glad they all left.
Doing really, really well. So I'm going to call this a conversation rather than a discussion. I think it is really important to have it at this point in time. And it's relevant because we listen to bright young minds looking at our decisions. We laughed, Maria and I did anyway, at the Walla Walla thing. And yes, it's true. We have brought up this topic for quite a while. There are an awful lot of moving parts in this decision. So one thing that I think is non-negotiable is that if we approve this motion, it should be the last one before we have something like a 20-year plan. Buses are long-lived assets. They're not as big as buildings, but they're something that needs a thoughtful plan. And if we look at it, the cost of electric buses is going down. I'll go through some of the reasons we didn't act before. Yes, you've got to have the infrastructure for the whole fleet, and that's very expensive as a lump, and that doesn't come out of individual bus purchases. The last time we asked this question, electric buses were, I don't know what the ratio was, but they were a lot more expensive compared to diesels than they are today. We asked, I asked for informally of Link what they thought about patterns of use, and that was several years ago, and they thought we didn't have a really good appropriate hours per day, miles per day for electric buses. But all of those might have changed. Everything I say is speculative, don't believe it, but I think they're questions. And then, of course, we have subsidies, which we didn't take up. And then that itself can be uncertain. So I think there are a whole bunch of moving parts. I realize we've got a long lead time on getting buses. And twice now I've said, okay, well, let's carry on. I'm okay with going ahead with diesels. We don't want to disrupt when you don't know where we're going. So I guess I do have a minor question. I don't think a plan is going to happen in the next 3 months. Not a good one anyway. So how harmful is it to delay this particular purchase is part of my discussion question. But other than that, I've spoken, and I would welcome any other comment from the board.
I would echo what you said, that we are not going to come up with a thoughtful, we're going to develop that 20-year plan in the terms that we have for purchasing these two buses. So it's, trying to set the goal of, we should address how are we going to transition to EV, because it's not a if, it's a when. How are we going to do that before we start buying more buses? Makes a lot of sense, but postponing this seems like it would be detrimental to our ongoing operations, in hopes of trying to find a plan before that.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of being aggressive about trying to actually strategically plan for the future of buses, because I think we have heard quite a bit, and, my own experience working with Link Transit over the years has been one thing with electric buses. So it's kind of, I bring a lot of background information about some of the things we need to look into. So I don't see how we can delay this, and I don't even know how we can caveat it as this being the last one until, but I'd feel more comfortable if this is the last one, and we, at least until we have a plan, or that we simultaneously work on a plan to really identify, can we make this work? What is the actual timeline to make this work? Because just knowing, even if we decide to go down the electric bus path, I think we're still 3 to 5 years out of actually getting, potentially landing your first EV, especially if economy factors change, tariffs go up or down, the political climate impacting some of the future availability and the access. It's just what I've experienced in other forms dealing with these things. So there's a lot of planning that I think needs to go on. So I don't want to necessarily say this is the last one, period. But I do agree we need to be more focused, put more priority into addressing whether and how we can actually use this resource.
My question for Sean is, what is our, so looking into a plan for the next couple years after the purchase of these two buses, what is a replacement? What's the next replacement after these?
So for the 2025, well, let's start with the current school year. So 24, 25, all 5 buses were budgeted in our 24, 25 budget, approved, and are arriving this year. 3 have already arrived, 2 will arrive later this school year. For 25, 26, there are 3 school buses budgeted in replacing our fleet. So 2 of the 3 buses are on tonight's schedule. Looking forward, over the next 4 years, it would be about replacing 2 to 3 buses each year.
That information doesn't make this processing easier. I mean, I agree with both Julie Martin and Tucker. This is a topic that, again, we've been having for the last couple of years. I think, Sean, you've been engaged in those conversations. And I wish we were further along, but it sounds like because these buses are for this upcoming year, right? 25, 26.
Correct.
Yeah. I would feel a little bit more comfortable if it was just one bus. But I think we do have an immediate need to fill. But with that said, I think we need to be very strategic in the potential of moving fully. As we replace these buses, it seems like we replaced a big chunk of them last year and this year, which it will slow down in the next few years. We can't work backwards. We can only work ahead. I would support the purchase of these 2, knowing that we're going to be very, very intentional and strategic on looking into the potential of transitioning.
Question. So with Martin and Maria, when this was brought up a couple of years ago, did you, in referring to Walla Walla's procedure moving forward, do you know how long it had taken for them to do this transition?
it was a conversation around a meal. The person who executed it was not a school district employee. It was a board member who happened to be a tech entrepreneur, both entrepreneur, very influential and knew his way around, and you know, unusual asset. But I think they did it in like 24 months because they had somebody who really knew what to do. But I haven't gone there to see what it looked like. Because when we talked about it, we said, can't we go to, we suggested a visit to Walla Walla to find out what's going on. And so we don't know, it may not be as good as it's dressed. But yeah, it can, at least my impression of Walla Walla is it can be done in a hurry if you've got enough power.
And $5 million in additional funding.
I don't know about that.
Well, that's what they, I mean, that's what the AP class said, that they had EPA and DOE funding to the tune of $5 million.
Yeah, but all of those are subsidies that are available by writing grants.
Right.
Then they're not, you don't have to raise that money. You just have to be organized enough to apply for it in time. We missed the last round of federal money. I know because I got a letter a month after it had expired and you had to wait like another 9 months for the next tranche.
Yeah, and that's how Walla Walla initiated through a grant.
Is that an opportunity, Corey, that we could visit either Walla Walla, or is there another school district that is following into that route to see what they have done in that turnaround, so we're not having to be scurrying very fast trying to get something moving in order when we have to have other buses every year?
Well, the great
coming
thing
in and
about
replacing.
visiting Walla Walla and Superintendent Wade Smith is they have a variety of things that they're good at. And not only is it electric buses, but they pass bonds and lots of them. So a visit to Walla Walla is not a bad thing. And Wade Smith has been doing amazing work there, as well as their school board and their community. So there are things that we could definitely learn. And what I liked about what Martin said is before we approve more diesel buses, to have a 20-year plan. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop approving diesel buses. It means that we have a plan to transition, because the infrastructure is the important piece and where the dollars come from. So I just appreciate that comment. And I think we can work toward building out a plan. In fact, Sean and all of our operational departments have done a great job with depreciation and building out long-term plans. And so I know they have one for transportation, and weaving in some of the electrical bus components could be the next step. So we appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, I would think before we even do a tour or something, we actually, because we know the funding is basically there and it almost feels like we're talking out of order. It's, I think first we need the analysis as part of this 20-year plan is, will they work in a district with our geographic, our weather conditions, our geography, our shop conditions, things like that. Can we make it work? Okay, then we know it is an option for this district. Okay, how did you get to the next step? How did you source the buses or finance the projects or things of that? Because I think first and foremost, we need to know, is this something we can work? Do we have too much special need in our district where we can't operate the bigger buses? Do we need too many modifications to buses to make it difficult to meet? I mean, there's a whole bunch of factors when we're just looking into what types of buses to put out there. And so, can we work in the hot colds like that? Can we send buses all the way up to Wenatchee Heights? I think we can get there, but it's just, I think somebody needs to do that planning so we know, okay, this is a viable thing. And because I think it is the way of the future. So I think we need to be geared to go that way.
Is that something that we can, sorry to interject, but to have those discussions with Link Transit, because I work with, for my job, my day job, in working with those clients that need those assistance with transportation, it is setting them up with Link Transit and the Link Plus, and also with, I know some of the the discussions I've had with administration staff, they contract with People for People or Link Plus that could get to like the Wenatchee Heights, could get to up to the Plateau, up in Waterville, up to the ENIAC with those Link Bus transits too.
I agree. There are a lot of unknowns that we need to unravel. And I mean, where we have a vacuum is an expert person, with all respect to Sean, you're not an expert transportation guy. Nobody is. We don't have that. We have a vacuum. But the closest we have that kind of excited me, and that's why the students presented their plan, not just what is the motor in a bus, how is transport used? And I know that there's some restrictions on collaborating between a public bus service like Link and a school district system. And I know the first draft of their work, they had a lot of questions about that. So I think a lot of these areas, students lead the charge. And I think that's great. But I think they've opened a couple of doors that way. I wasn't going to say that because I thought that's part of the 20-year plan. But I think it addresses what Julie's saying, but also the fact that we need to look not just at buses and subsidies, but how people use transport, how they get to school. And that's part of the picture as well.
So we're changing the action to task those AP kids with figuring it out.
Well, one of the things I appreciated that we didn't hear about was there was a rich discussion at in the classroom last week about how, and they actually gave me a chance to ask a question. I said, well, if, you know, we know about the carbon footprint and carbon emissions, and what are you doing about all the students that drive their own vehicles individually? And they actually have a carpool event coming up that they're working on and how they can do that. And they said one of the larger problems they also see, in addition to this work, is how do we get our own peers to understand that that we have a big impact on those emissions. So they're doing all the thinking in all the ways. So it's really cool.
Are we good on discussion? A motion to approve the action as written. Close. Oh, need a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. Okay. Action passes. Yeah. Superintendent report.
Excellent. Nailed it. Just quickly, Diane and I have been giving levy presentations the last couple of weeks to build awareness and understanding in the district and in our community. Our primary focus in December is ensuring that our staff are well informed and have a foundational understanding of the levy. And so, like, we've been athletic boosters, our certificated staff, family advocates, district office managers, association leaders, the WNEA exec board, with interagency meeting today, core pack today, superintendent's advisory committee has heard this information. So anyway, just a lot of great presentations, and we're just getting started. So we're having a lot of fun. And if there's any community members or groups that are listening, and would like to hear more from the school district, please feel free to reach out by calling the district office or sending us an email via our levy@wenatcheeschools.org email, and we'll get a presentation out to you soon. And let's see here, holiday fun. I'll just finish up with that. Or actually, I have my restructuring committee has met 3 times this fall, and our group includes parents, community members, and Wenatchee School District staff. We've discussed a lot of things, including how district budgets operate, enrollment projections and trends, birth rates, building and district capacity. And we just met last week, and we spent some time talking about enrollment, and we're assessing our overall system and watching where we might have some concerns for the future. We still have a few classes left, the 500 students or more, including a 3rd grade class that we're keeping an eye on. And I just want to share that the purpose of this group is to monitor our enrollment decline and be open and transparent place to discuss future restructuring needs of the district. We want all the school district and community to be aware of the conversations that we're having. And all of our meeting slide decks and agendas are posted on our website under budget information and the restructuring committee. And Diane has been doing a great job there, so I appreciate it. Finally, holiday fun. We had Stuff the Bus. We had Operation Turkey Drop that our SROs were involved in. We're moving into that winter time. We've had our mariachi winter concert. We had Shop with the Cop last week. We have Interact and Casa Toy Drive. Today, our 2nd graders were down at Pybus Event Center with the Kiwanis Club for a holiday party. Yes. And then tomorrow, they are with the Lions Club. Our 5th graders are with Lions Club for a holiday party. So just great stuff happening. And just we appreciate all the community involvement in the school district. So superintendent's report.
All right. Board communication. Oh, I get to pick now. Miranda, go for it. Let's work our way down.
Oh my gosh. So with the WASDA, just kind of retouching on that, that was a really good week
all in all, in general, despite the rain. And then also taking that time, I took the step back working with our legislative new reps in our legislative committee and getting ready for General Assembly, which is actually right after the new year. So and it'll be really exciting, and hopefully we'll see what will happen in the 3 months for the long session.
Julie, you don't get to go last now.
I don't have much. I feel like I've been at schools a lot for athletic things, but just getting ready for the new year, and I want to tell all of our staff and everyone happy holidays.
Martin? Nothing. I will be working on my Robert's rules and trying to figure out parliamentary procedure. But other than that, yeah, happy holidays to everyone. And I think we're there. Adjourned.